Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some more Adventure Synchron. Playing this deck currently in regular ranked ladder, although I am also planning on using it for the upcoming festival as well. I'm not quite sure at this point in time exactly which video is going to go out first. If I had to guess, the event video is probably going to happen first, but either way, had a blast playing the second ranked, and I want to show it off in here as well as in, of course, the festival. So this is a great time to be on a deck like Adventure Synchron with Tenpai running around. You're going to be going first a lot more often than you might normally be. And while you might think, you know, okay, sure, Tenpai lets you go first, but what about their hand traps? What about their board breakers? This is the type of combo deck where you are able to just power through hand traps, and also if you don't hand rip away board breakers, then you're just going to outright negate them with your end board. So, as I mentioned before, the whole reason why I didn't pull packs, why I didn't buy any, is because I actually spent all my packs on the Synchro alt arts, trying to get a playset of tuning. I did manage to pull one more alt art, but I was not able to complete my playset before the pack expired. So hopefully that'll come around at some point within probably the next year or so. I know they eventually do cycle the alt art packs back in, but I did get this while I was pulling for the third alt art tuning. So kind of wild that I got two royals before I got the third alt art tuning, but you know what? I am definitely not complaining. I will gladly take having one regular tuning in exchange for a royal Crimson Dragon. So very pleased to have pulled that, eager to play it, of course, in this deck, alongside the Stardust Dragon. I don't know what to tell you, I guess I'm just a signer, so. This build is pretty much exactly the same. I've been very satisfied with it. There is one very minor difference, though, and that is the third copy of Water Enchantress. With this card at 3, the deck becomes just that much more consistent, and it really does need the consistency boost, because Adventure is one of those decks where you don't actually have any one-card starters. You don't have any one-card plays, really. It's all reliant on having at least 2 cards, and the Adventure engine is often going to be one of those cards that you want. So having the third Water Enchantress, again, that just one more copy for that little bit of extra consistency is very, very much appreciated. What else? Let's see here. Poplar did go to 1, but we were only playing 1, so that doesn't really matter. The card I took out was Nibiru. I wasn't really, like, super pleased about taking out a hand trap, especially Nib of all things, because it is pretty good to draw off the Maxi, of course, but I don't know. Like I said, everything else engine-wise feels very necessary. I think probably... Whoa. What am I doing now? I did not mean to click that. My hand just fell on the button there. No, I'm definitely not trying to cut adventure stuff like the Dracoback and the Fateful. I don't know. Maybe one of the Diabels, but this is a great non-tuner, very needed for engine. You could think about cutting Gamma and then playing like Nib and Veilers instead. I did kind of consider that, but Gamma's so good. Excuse me. If you start your plays with like a small world that gets Ash Blossomed, or if they like chain Maxi to your right of Armacy as your first play, being able to Gamma to, of course, not only negate, but then also get in your Omega, which you do want to be making anyway to hand rip, it's just so valuable. It's so good. I definitely want to keep Gamma in this deck. I mean, yeah, like I said, outside of the Nibiru, there wasn't really another card I could think of to replace for the third Water Enchantress, so definitely want to be playing some more Adventure decks this season too, by the way, with the Water Enchantress being at 3, and I love the Adventure engine. It's great. Love playing it and stuff, so. But yeah, like I said, the rest of the main deck is the same as it's been, I think, the past couple of seasons now, honestly. So, we're still using Small World as an engine. I love Small World in this deck. You can bridge a lot of things using Revolution Synchron as your, like, middle card, as your bridge. Well, yeah, the bridge, right? So, that's often because you're going to be digging for, like, the Water Enchantress, right, which is level 3. And then you'll often have, like, a spare Synchron, which is a machine, or maybe Gamma, or no, Gamma's Psychic, sorry. But, yeah, one of these spare, like, machine monsters here, so. What else to say about the build here? Oh, something that is pretty consistently asked is why we are not on Synchro Overtake. This is, of course, a card you could definitely play in the deck, and I don't think would be bad at all. Of course, it's actually often played in this particular iteration of Synchron, but we're not on it here because instead we're playing Bonfire and Poplar, which I like quite a bit more. The level 1 non-tuner of Poplar, that body does come up quite a bit. Also, getting put in the spell trap zone can come up for being sent off the Diabell as well, right? But yeah, Stardust Synchron plus Poplar is a way that I go into Junk Speeder. Not like a lot, but enough of the time that I really value it. I have actually considered playing like Ash, Flamberge, just like more Snake Eyes stuff, right? Because it's not hard to like add that to part of your board. Of course, though, we can't play any of the links because we do get locked into synchros, right, with the Junk Speeder. But of course, we could also still just use those as non-tuner bodies. I think the main thing that's not wanting me to add like Flamberge and Ash and Oak and stuff is because like you already have to, with this deck, manage your board a lot as far as like how many zones you have open, especially for non-tuners. Non-tuners are always going to be the most important factor of this deck. You might think it's a synchro deck, so don't you want your tuners? Well, of course, our main card just dumpsters all of your tuners, like dumps them all out right from the deck onto the field. So it really does become a lot about having the non-tuners. That's why we're playing like Junk Servant, for example, right? That's literally the entire reason, is that we need a level 4 non-tuner body so badly that you're willing to give up the Jet Synchron effect to bring itself back to search it instead, just to be able to, like, you know, really pop off, right? Of course, without Junk Servant, you can still make plays, but it's very important for, like, again, really popping off. Of course, as always as ever, our end board for this deck is going to be ideally 3 hand rips, 2 with Omega, 1 for the initial summon, 1 after it's brought back by Dispater, and then the Trishline hand rip, of course, on top of multiple Omni Negates, the Baron de Fleur, plus the Crimson Dragon to target either Pater or Baron to go into the Majestic Star, which, by the way, for those who don't know, is not only an Omni Negate, but also a board wipe when it does negate. And then you can often end on like F.A. Dawn Dragster as well for an extra Spell Trap negate. That's also getting a million draws with Hyper Librarian. You've probably seen this pop off at some point, so because we've covered this, again, pretty much exact build here multiple times, I'm not going to really bother breaking it down card by card. Instead, we're just going to hop in right into these games and start seeing them here. Now, of course, a lot of these matchups are going to be against Tenpai, like this first game here. That's what I alluded to in the deck profile as well. Makes sense, of course, in this metagame, but again, that's also why playing Adventure Synchron right now is so good. Here we did just win the coin flip, and Revolution Synchron plus Rite of Armistier is a fantastic opening hand that is capable of making the Junk Speeder with a Baron de Fleur on the field. So I don't think I specified it in the deck profile portion, but I have said this in past iterations of this deck. But of course, we can pretty much always make Junk Speeder with some amount of protection, right? Again, with this hand in particular, it's going to be with Baron de Fleur, but a lot of the time, we're actually going to summon Junk Speeder off the Excel Synchro Stardust effects, which does make the monster unaffected by opponent's activated effects, meaning that Junk Speeder will not be able to be negated. Alright, here we're throwing down the Wandering Griffin Rider, equipping the Draco back just because we can, sinking Rev Synchron and Wandering Griffin Rider into the Baron de Fleur. Fun fact, if we were playing Nat Beast, we could even summon that here. Not that it would be optimal to play in this deck, but nope, we're making a 5 that's even better than Naturia Beast when it resolves, and your deck is built for it, and this could be Junk Speeder. So, boom, there's our 4 Synchron tuners. Stardust Synchron is, of course, going to add the Stardust Illumination. Now, we don't want to be synchroning off with our Baron, of course, so we're going to have to play a little bit differently than we might normally just to keep that on the field. I'm going to summon Excel Stardust, not activate the effect, that way I have an open monster space to summon the Trail from the deck off Illumination. Now, Jet Synchron plus Trail are going to make Hyper Librarian. From here, I'm going to activate Excel Stardust and Synchro Summon into a level 10 that way, or actually a level 12, this is Crimson Dragon. The reason why I did this, even though it wasn't necessary, is because it actually gives an extra draw off of the Hyper Librarian. Fun fact, because it's 2 Synchro Summons. Alright, now Crimson Dragon is going to add the Rumble, Stardust Trail is going to activate to revive, that's another bonus of using the Excel there. Crimson for the Rumble. And then we get a couple Librarian draws. We're going to grab Poplar as well as Wanted. It's always nice to get Wanted or Diabell at some point in the combo line, because you do usually end up needing the non-tuner body. Now here I'm going to revive the Stardust Synchron just so I can go for 8 into the Cyframe Lord Omega. Going to start the hand ripping here, as well as, of course, continuing to draw cards. Going to Omega rip that we end up hitting the Gen Roku there. Of course, all this after ashing their Maxi as well, so that's why they only have 3 cards in hand. Pater is going to bring back the Omega. We're going to do some more hand ripping. And this time we're going to hit Harpy's Feather Duster. Not really a big deal against us, but gonna want it for the Diabell, like I said, and I can send the Fateful Adventure for the Diabell Star. Gonna activate the Diabell to set the OSS from my hand. I can special summon the Assault Synchron. Then I'm gonna go ahead and send that off for the OSS here to summon the Poplar from hand. It looks a little bit weird, but I actually did not end up adding the Junk Servant here. So I can use the Jet Synchron Revive effect. I know I talked earlier about how important Junk Servant was, but again, our extra monster zone, or not our extra monster zone, of course, but our leftover main monster zone was occupied by Baron. So I didn't bother going for Junk Servant, because I wouldn't be able to summon it anyway, because you need Junk Speeder to be in play. So this game, we actually do get to use the Jet Synchron Revive effect. 1 + 1 + 7 is 9, with 2 or more non-tuner bodies, that makes Trishula. So we can rip 1 more card from our opponent's hand here, as well as getting another draw. A lot of the time, I do end up using Hyper Librarian as a material at some point in the combo line, but here we actually get to keep it on board for the entire thing to really maximize how many draws we get. I'm going to banish a Maxi from their yard, as well as a Shundra from their hand. End up drawing a Bonfire. Not going to be useful anymore, but going to use the Rumble to revive Rev Synchron. 3 + 9 is going to be 12. That's Crimson Dragon once again, to make the Majestic Star Dragon on the opponent's turn. One last draw. I gotta set the call by. After getting another draw, I actually have Wanted. I think I might end up using the Water Enchantress here. No, okay, we're just gonna have it in hand. Alright, so Crimson Dragon effect activates, targets one of my 10s, and here is Majestic Star Dragon. So just to fully cover where we went on turn 1 here, we ripped 3 cards from our opponent's hand after ashing the Maxi and then banishing it off Trishula. And then now into our opponent's 2-card hand, we have 1 Omni Negate that destroys, 1 Omni Negate that board wipes, we have 1 Monster Negate or Destroy, we have an Ash Blossom, and a Call By as well. So, oh, and then we get an extra draw of Hyper Librarian, because why not? And naturally, our opponent's going to concede into that. And yeah, I mean, like I said, that's just how a lot of these games are going to go in this meta. Because you're going to be going first so often. And especially because this early on, after Tenpai release, I think a lot of people are still packing more board breakers than they should. Meaning there's less hand traps of these decks that are letting you go first. But again, I mean, this deck is also very capable of playing through hand traps as well. So there's that first game. Let's go ahead and see the next one. Alright, we're playing against Voiceless Voice here. Our opponent's on 50 cards, and they're on a lot of very specific anti-Tenpai tech. There's like 1 Battle Fader, 1 Curry Photon here. As always as ever, you know, that just is not correct, in my opinion. It's never correct to main deck sideboard cards. I always think of it this way. You think back to when Tearlament was dominating Master Duel when it first came out. It wasn't right to main deck non-fusion area. People tried it. It just didn't work out. So, and yeah, Tenpai, nor has any deck since then been quite as prominent as Tier 0 format. So, here we are going second. Opponent's going to start with Prosperity, going into some Nadir Servant plays. I'm not going to Gamma the Maximus here. I don't really care if they get like a draw or some searching. That's fine too. I'm just going to negate probably the Skull Guardian here. I end up sending Charge Warrior and Shen Shen because these are the 2 that I probably summon the least often, but alright, so here's the Skull Guardian. Like I said, was waiting for that so I could Gamma it. I did get a little lucky that they didn't end up normal summoning low, but at the same time, if they had normal summoned low, I would have just stopped that. Like, I would have Gamma'd that, so I felt fine, again, not using the Gamma against, like, the Search or anything else here. So yeah, they're just going to pass with an Attack Mode Ash Blossom and a Dogmatica Maximus on the field. Definitely fine with me, especially with a hand like this. Going to lead with normal summon Reborn Tengu. Opponent's going to actually end up activating the continuous spell to summon the Skull Guardian, which will activate here to add the Saphira, but Does not have the negate because Low is not on the field, and Low's not even in the graveyard, so no attack boost here. Gonna use my Rev Synchron that's in hand with Reborn Tengu to go into Black Rose Dragon. This is often why this deck is still fine going second. You might think that a long form combo deck would struggle playing into the board, but a lot of the times the opponent's board is going to look like this, where it's very capable of being wiped by Black Rose, or if they end up having negates, like our opponent does here with the Imperm, that's fine. The Black Rose still eats the negate, and in this case with Imperm, it still is going to stay on the field to be used for more Synchro Summoning later, so this is completely fine with me. And the nice thing about the Reborn Tengu Black Rose Chainlink is that Tengu is a mandatory effect. It's always going to be Chainlink 1, and then Black Rose will be Chainlink 2, so you do wipe and then get the Tengu. Here I'm going to revive Rev Synchron by its own effect as level 1. 1 plus 4, that's going to equal 5, going into the Junk Speeder. It's fine, actually, that we only summon 3, because we even get the non-tuner body of Tengu here, so yeah, as soon as I vomit all these monsters onto the board, my opponent's going to pack up their cards pretty quickly and surrender here. So yeah, I did want to show, you know, like I said, at least one duel of me going second instead of just a bunch of Tenpai just letting me go first, because that, I think it's pretty easy to see how this deck, you know, can win. But again, like I said, you know, the Black Rose Dragon is so extraordinarily helpful when going second. There's a lot of boards that you can very easily push through. Again, if you don't wipe it with the Black Rose will force one of your opponent's better negates a lot of the time. So, or maybe they're only one, like in this case. So, all right, still got. Let's see here. Let's do one more duel. Yeah, I have one more game on a shelf. Let's go end with that one. Okay, for our last game here, I'm going to show you a game against Tenpai. Again, you know, surprise, surprise. We're playing against this deck quite a bit in this meta. They are going to let us go first, so I knew this time I was going against Tenpai. That does actually matter, and I do want to make sure, moving forward, that I try to point that out when I play against Tenpai, is to specifically note who won the coin flip, because obviously, if your opponent's going to let you go first in this meta, you know they're on Tenpai, so that can sometimes affect how you play, but not really here, so not often with this deck in general. Alright, Reborn Tengu plus the Abel Star, that is going to equal a full combo line, and what's more, it's even going to be with our unaffected Junk Speeder, like I was talking about in our first duel. You can pretty much always make Junk Speeder with some amount of protection, and if it's not an Omni Negate, then you can summon it off the Excel Stardust effect. A lot of people don't necessarily realize this when they first read Excel Stardust, but you don't have to use the Stardust Dragon that you summon as a Synchro material. You can Synchro with anything on your field, so we can do the Jet Synchron plus the Tengu into the Speeder. I don't think we have any more Tengus left, but it's a mandatory effect, so it's still going to activate. Yeah, all 3 are in the graveyard there, so we're going to summon all 4 of our non-tuners, and then Tengu just fails to find. Synchron for Illumination, then we are going to Synchro for Crimson Dragon. This is the order that I usually like to start off with, is just going for the Crimson Dragon, putting it in the EMZ to free up the main monster zone. That way you have the Synchro Rumble plus the Illumination, so at any point really you can go like Rumble for Stardust, Illumination for Trail. Then of course making Hyper Librarian as early as possible is always good. Now going for the Cypher and Ward Omega. I also like hand ripping early in case the opponents are trying to hold on to any hand traps as well. Here they do have the Magnum Hut. I don't know if they were really trying to hold on to it for that long, but threatening with the Omega hand rip here does end up forcing it out. So they're going to banish the Stardust Synchron, which is a little annoying, but not like game breaking at all. We end up banishing a Triple Tactics talent here. Going to use the Rumble to bring back the Stardust Dragon. And then from there, as I alluded to before, we can... oh, I misplayed here. That's right. I remember this game now. So I misplayed here. As I mentioned before, I was supposed to activate the Illumination while the Stardust was on the field. That way I could special summon the Trail instead of sending it to the graveyard. For that reason, I kind of just don't activate the Illumination. I think I probably still should have used it here to put the Trail in the yard. Maybe I do that. I don't quite remember off the top of my head, but... that is a minor misplay on my part. I don't think it ends up really mattering here. But that combined with the Synchron getting banished does mean we are down a significant number of bodies. So it actually will impact us at least somewhat. I do get the other hand rip here. If I remember right, I actually don't end up going for Trishula here because we lack the bodies, but I might be wrong. Okay, so there's a Shundra. Gonna Bonfire for the Poplar. Use the Poplar F to special, and then we can use the Wanted to get an extra draw here. Just like having the information available. And this Rite of Armis here is going to be pretty great. So this doesn't happen often, but in this particular situation, I'm actually able to kind of use my Adventure Engine later on in my combo line, and I'm going to keep the Wandering Griffin Rider as an Omni-Negate on my field. Like, right? I'm going to keep it around, so... Yep, so here I'm going to sync 1 + 1 + 5 is 7. I'm going to make the Dawn Dragster to have a Spell Trap Negate. I might have been able to weave in a Trishula here, but I think I just opted to go for more negates, right? Gonna do a little bit of deck thinning using the Enchantress to add Rite of Armis here. Then I think Baron, yep, is gonna pop the Magnum Hut. They are gonna get a search during the end phase. I'll set the call by, and I mill Stardust Synchron, which I also could have done sooner as well, now that I think about it. So I'm gonna add again Roku and activate the effect here, but I'm just gonna use Dissipator's effect, put back my Synchron, my Stardust Synchron that is, and destroy it. And thankfully that's not a once on the field effect like Baron. So even though we only did 2 hand rips instead of 3, we are still playing into, let me let them draw here, a 3-card hand with 1, 2 Omni Negates, a Monster Negate / Destroy. We have a Spell Trap Negate, we have a Call By, and we have a Maxi. So again, I would say that is not too shabby. We're going to leave with the Pydra here. I'm actually going to let it resolve. When I have an overwhelming advantage in terms of negates, I like to be very patient with my negates, because if you spring a lot of them too early, you just never know what your opponent could have for follow-up. So here's to go to special again, Roku. I can even just use the Call By. I also really like using stuff like Call By and hand traps before using my onboard negates, because the opponent will often plan around your onboard negates. Of course, that is like public information, so that's what they have access to as far as like what they can play around, right? So if I prioritize something like Call By, which is a lot more niche than any of my onboard negates, not only do I use my more niche negate sooner, but furthermore, my opponent still has their stuff, or my stuff that they've accounted for that they still have to contend with, and that kind of throws off their plan. So, yeah, that's I think that's a pretty nice showcase of what Adventure Synchron can do, not only in Journal, but in a format right now where it is, in my opinion, very much favored. So, thanks as always for watching these games. I super appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.